Hey, food friends, and welcome to the Food Founders Podcast, your number one spot to get mentoring, guidance, and behind the scene learnings to help you understand what it really takes to launch, grow, and scale your packaged food or beverage business. On the show, you'll hear from food founders at various stages of growth, and you'll hear from me and my 14 years of packaged food and beverage experience. Each episode is packed with insights, inspiration, and learning to help you on your food business journey. I'm your host, Ainsley, and this is the Food Founders Podcast. Before we jump into today's show, I want to thank our sponsor, the Food Brands That Sell program. Food Brands That Sell is a 6-week deep dive into the CPG industry and teaches you how to win within that industry by creating a brand that you, retailers, and consumers love. Here's what a recent alumni had to say about the program. I am so grateful that I chose to do Food Brands That Sell. I learned so much about myself, my journey, and my company. These 6 weeks changed how I'm doing my business, and I can see the difference already. I no longer feel alone. If you aren't already on the wait list, hop on over to foodbrandsthatsellwaitlist.com or grab the link below to make sure that you are first to know when the program is accepting new students. All right, let's dive into today's episode. Hey, food friends. I'm so excited to have you tuning in today as you're joining in on a conversation with my food friend Malak, then Hmeda, and I, as we are talking about Oh My Gum, your new favorite gum, and we're diving into their journey. So Malak, welcome to the Food Founders Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Love being here.
Okay, can you tell everyone what is Oh My Gum and why do they need this in their life?
Okay, I'll try to be very brief. Okay, so Oh My Gum is plant-based, plastic-free, and biodegradable chewing gum. And you should all have it in your life because normal, regular chewing gum is made of plastic. And if you don't want to chew on plastic, it's you have a choice to switch to an eco-friendly, yummy, and super stylish alternative that is Oh My Gum, that is available in mint and cinnamon. And you will die for someone to say, do you have some gum? And you'll want to put it out of your bag and say, actually, I do. That is Oh My Gum.
I love that. And you're so right. Like the packaging is incredible, is beautiful. And I can't wait for the world to be open, to be at an event and someone to ask me for gum. So I can be like, yes, try this. It's such a different user experience, which I definitely want to get into. First, let's talk about the fact that we're basically chewing on plastic when we're chewing on regular gum. When I learned that, and I learned that from you guys, I was kind of mortified, like, to be honest, like actually kind of mortified. And it makes sense. We see gum stuck to something
exactly
years. So how did you kind of come across this? And I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, that's gross, and they don't do anything.
Yeah.
What lit you up to actually do something about it?
Well, it's actually divine timing in the sense that quite a few things came nicely together. So I've always been relatively very healthy and relatively eco-conscious, always opting for like the healthier, better than for you option when it comes to food and other things in my life. And I was in the supermarket one day and I was looking at and also, side note, aside from being healthy and eco-conscious, I'm also like a sucker for packaging and branding. So that is also another element that I never could fuse those two things together to become who I am now. But yeah. So I was on the queue, like the longest queue in the supermarket ever, luckily, because it got me thinking. And I was just looking at all the alternatives. So there was like chocolates, and there were all these different variations of chocolates, the free from dairy, gluten, nuts, everything. And then you have these healthier options. And then there was just chewing gum. And I was like, ew, why does it look like that? Why is everything else speaking to me kind of? And that isn't. And it's been the same thing. All I remember, like my mom had that gum, my grandma had that gum, I had that gum, like it's been the same. And I'm like, so I was like, okay, this is interesting. Like, why does A, chewing gum still look like that? And B, what is it actually made of? Like, why isn't there, like, other than just having a sugar-free option, why isn't there something else? And I was looking at the ingredients, I'm like, these all look really long and really confusing, and surely there needs to be like a more simpler version. So I just looked up, I was just like, okay, what is chewing gum actually made of? And I was like, oh my God, there's a lot more to do than just the packaging here. There's like the whole product element, like people, and I thought I was like relatively well-read person in the space. Like, I'll tell you, oh no, don't have that product because it got this nasty stuff in it. So I would always be like a little more aware than like the average person in a certain, when it came to food. And I had no clue about plastic and gum, like no clue. I was like, okay, and then it dawns on you that, like you said, it makes sense. You see it on the street and you're like, it makes sense. It's made of plastic. You see it on the street, it doesn't break down. It takes our money, the tax in the UK, for instance. I'm not sure what the stats are for other countries, but in the UK, it costs our government 60 to 100 million pounds a year to remove off the street.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's wild when you think about that.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, so lots of things going on here. We have a product that's got lots of plastic in it, and there is the option for it to be plastic free. So need to tackle that. And we also need to have a brand that is not just better for you. Because when I just found the other natural alternatives, I was like, okay, maybe I can just buy it. None of them really spoke to me. And I was like, this is exciting. And I had just quit my job in order to like start a business. And I was going to do it more in the field of what I was in before, which was fashion recruitment. And I was going to do like a fashion tech company thing. But it wasn't really like getting me buzzing. And Googling this gum stuff got me, but like I found myself, it was like 8 a.m. and all of a sudden it was like 8 p.m. And all I'd done was like Google gum. I'm like, this is it. This is my calling. This is what I have to do. It's gum.
That is so awesome. Like, you saw the problem in so many different areas and it just pulled you in. I think that's a really good sign that you're on the right path, especially you were like thinking you were going somewhere else. But when you're kind of obsessed with things, that's a good thing, right? Like, you have to be.
Exactly. I was completely fixated and I just found it so interesting. I was like, guys, do you know what I found out today? And it was my mum's birthday. And I called her, I was like literally just 2 seconds saying wishing her happy birthday. I was like, she was like, how are you? I was like, well, actually, I'm very well. I've got my business idea.
Okay. So you've got this business idea. You're like, there is a huge need here. Not only is there not a plastic-free option, or the ones that are there, they're that kind of hippie granola type look, not necessarily the chic type look that, coming from fashion is where you are. How did you bring that all to life? Like, you're not a food scientist. Had you ever worked in the consumer packaged goods industry before?
Not really. The very short is I had a bit of an idea on the FMCG space in the sense that I worked in recruitment at the beginning on an agency side, and I had some FMCG clients, some fashion and retail and lifestyle clients. For a few months, I covered all those sectors. So I had an idea in terms of like, this is the structure. There are wholesalers, there are distributors, there are key account managers. Like, I had an idea about like the corporate structure in an FMCG business, the caliber of FMCG candidates, etc., and how they work. But my fashion and lifestyle clients took over, and that's what I spent the rest of my fashion recruitment career doing. So, but in terms of like how to make a product, how to even like find a barcode, how to do packaging. No, I had no idea. I came from like a background where I was basically just dealing with people, dealing with accounts, dealing with business. So no, it was a big learning curve in terms of how do I operate in this industry? So no, I had not come from a food background. I wonder sometimes how much my life would have been easier if I had.
But like, okay, so then how did you bring this to life? Was Google still your best friend? Like, how did you find a food scientist to do this? And what did that process look like? Because you're disrupting a category,
Yeah. So it was, it took 13 months. So it was a lot of work getting from like me jotting down my ideas on my mum's birthday to me having my first prototype in hand. Took a year, so 13 months. It was a long process. And a lot of it was Google was my best friend for a very long time. I also picked the brains of every single human being I met in any industry. So because they could say, well, my wife or my friend or my girlfriend or my boyfriend, whatever, they do this, and then that might lead to a conversation with that. So like, for example, my husband would tell people at work and they would say, oh, my best friend just launched this cookie business and they know they didn't come from the food space. So maybe you should hook them up and then they can speak. And then you understand about the different networking groups, the different exhibitions, etc. So I spoke to everyone and I picked people's brains in different areas, finance, IT, supply chain, like asked people until I think they just wanted to get rid of me. I went to a lot of exhibitions, like every food exhibition that was in town, I would go to and just research, and I'd go up to the founders and be like, oh, I'm researching my business. How did you get started? How did you find your manufacturer? How did you find this packaging designer? What factors do I need to take into account? Like, I would ask them again a million questions. So that's in terms of the business ops side of things, picking everyone's brains, doing my research with exhibition and Googling everything. And then when it came to the product, I tried to make it in my kitchen, failed, sacrificed a lot of pots and pans, Gum sticks and does not get removed. And then I had to contact a lot of partners. I mean, I had an idea, it's a very specific idea on product I wanted. I tasted every natural chewing gum on the market. I went on Amazon, I spent £200 and I tasted every single chewing gum brand and did like a little SWOT for each and every one. And I was like, okay, so this is the flavor profile that I want. This is what I'm looking for. This is, in terms of product, this is what I need. Yeah, and then I just Googled, went on, tried to find the right manufacturer. So then when I'd go to like food exhibitor lists. So say, for example, now in the US, you told me about there's Expo West. So I'd go on Expo West, like look at all the exhibitors that were there, which one of them fell into like which one of them were manufacturers, for instance, or which one of them were distributors, which one of them were wholesalers. And that one thing would lead to another, because I'd pick up the phone and call, because I come from this commercial background. I have no shame in like picking up the phone and calling a company and asking a lot of questions. So I called them up and they'd be like, oh, actually, we don't do this. Because my problem was finding someone that made plastic-free gum, and it's such a niche space, it still is. They would be like, oh no, we just make regular gum. The quantities for plastic-free natural gum don't justify us, and we have some technical issues. It sticks to our machines, etc., etc. I'm like, okay, well, do you know anyone who does? Like just tell me.
Yeah.
One person can, lead you to something else. So 1,000,001 failed phone calls and emails later, I finally narrowed it down to 2 and went with the one that I connected the most with and had like good trusting relationship, and we clicked, and I went to visit them back when you could visit people and decided that they were going to be the right partner for me. We had a lot of trial and error when it came to the product, like a lot. The thing with chewing gum is, because my chewing gum is not made with plastic, getting a flavor that lasts a decent amount of time is tough. So we spent a lot of money and time trying to get the right long lasting as it can be for natural chewing gum. And so that's my 13 months in a nutshell.
Got it. But I mean, so first of all, I've tried the gum. It's fantastic. For anyone who's wondering, like, oh, what is this? It tastes like a very cinnamony, beautiful cinnamon and a beautiful mint. The flavor lasts, and it's got like the same mouthfeel as a regular gum. It's a nicer mouthfeel, I would say, than a traditional chewing gum, which is enjoyable.
Yeah,
I feel like it's interesting because your packaging, and for anyone who does not know Oh My Gum, go check them out. Oh My Gum, when you look at the packaging, your brand as a whole is very elegant, it's very chic, it's very feminine. Mm-hmm. And when you actually experience the product, I feel like it really has those same type of qualities. It's not you're not like honking on it, you know what I mean? Like you're not like really going at it. It's like a delicate experience, which I think is so important. And I don't know if that was by design or just based on the fact that without plastic, heck, your teeth aren't like stuck together all the time, but it works really beautifully together.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. No, that was definitely part of the process. Like it all needed to be consistent. It all needed to come part of like the user experience of like, you see the product and it kind of comes full circle with the flavor and the chewing experience. But yeah. And the funny thing is within those crazy 13 months, I developed the packaging before I developed the product.
Good. Good. Okay. So talk to me about that, because the packaging is beautiful. Did you have this? Was this the first rendition of it? Did you have this vision before you went to a designer? Or what did that look like? Because you definitely stand out.
Thank you. No, I had a very clear idea on what I wanted the brand to look like. So before, I knew there were so many elements that I had to figure out for myself. Like I mentioned, like the fact that actually making the product, how the supply chain, the ops, all of that, the finance, everything. But what I definitely knew from the get-go when I had my idea was what my brand would look like. I wanted it to be elegant, chic, stylish. There was nothing like if I wanted to buy a nice gourmet chocolate or a nice fine chocolate for a friend as a gift, I could get it. If I wanted to get some nice fancy sweets, you could get, but there was nothing in gum. So for me, I really wanted the packaging. A, I'm a sucker for it, and B, the market needed it. I thought, based on me and my friends' taste, there wasn't really an extensive market study. I'd like to, but I really want, and I love the sort of the pastel color palette. So I was like, that speaks to me. It goes really beautifully together. It goes nicely on digital. So if we're doing gum for the gram, it needs to have like those types of colors. So I was like, yeah, we're having a pastel color palette. My primary color is definitely going to be pink because I'm targeting sort of like that. I wanted it to come from the beauty sector essentially. So I went on Pinterest and I mood boarded every single beauty brand that I wanted it to look like. Cool. So I was like, okay, if this beauty brand made chewing gum, that's what I wanted to design. So I created that Pinterest board, and it just, it worked very, very quickly. I realized, yeah, there's like gold, mint, pastel pink all over the Pinterest. That's the color scheme. And any other flavor we develop, because, you don't normally associate like a baby pink with a cinnamon. Normally red is the cinnamon color. But I wanted to go away from all the bold colors from the market, because what currently stands as like really bold, bright, not so, what I don't personally find attractive. So I wanted it to go completely opposite and do pastel colors, gold, inspired by beauty packaging. And that I had a very clear idea on, and it needed to look slick and something that so if I think of my consumer, they're very design oriented. They love everything in their life to look pretty and look good and also do good. So if they're taking like your phone, your wallet, your keys, you've got a nice keychain, you've got a nice phone case, you've got a nice card holder, whatever. And then you've got a picture of your gum, and that kind of didn't fit, right? That, if you think before, like that wouldn't just fit. You wouldn't take your phone and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to include that in my flat lay. You just wouldn't. And so I was designing of like, okay, if I was to design it, is it something that I would take my phone out and snap? And that is also something I had to bear in mind along with the color scheme. So it needed to be grammable, basically, for lack of a better word.
I think that's so needed today, though. Like, that's really needed, because we live in this world where people want to engage with our brands from a visual perspective. It needs to look good for that. We want to connect with it. We're out of the functional, like just purely functional. And
exactly.
And that is a really big piece. So to start with that thought in mind and think about what is that experience going to look like, I think is really powerful. And I love that you gained inspiration from outside of your category.
Yeah, exactly.
This looks like it could fit in the beauty aisle, which is like, when it looks like this, it very well could. It could be in Boots right next to like
Exactly. And that was another point of mine, is that I didn't want it just to be sold within your food stores. I wanted it to be in like a yoga studio or a Pilates studio or a spa, or or like your Boots. So it needed to fit across these different sales channels. And sort of back to your thing of like, how did I sort of create it? I was speaking again to a friend, because I always say, speak to people, even if you don't think they're not in the industry themselves, they might know someone who is. And I was speaking to a friend, and she is like a clinical psychologist. She's nowhere near like the commercial world. And I said, she said, oh, how's your business going? And I said, well, I'm developing it, and I've got this amazing like idea in terms of how I want it to look, but I really need help with a designer because I don't know how to use anything on Adobe Suite. And she said, oh, funny you say that. My boyfriend's best friend's thingy, she's been a beauty designer, and now she's just gone freelance. Should I connect you two? I was like, yes, connect me. And then we clicked. She knew exactly, like she did her own mood board before she met me. And we'd even like pin the same things on Pinterest. So I was like, listen, we're definitely working together. You get me. We speak the same visual language. Done. So so that's how it all came about.
Okay, so this is moving fast. 13 months, we're moving fast. We've got the product. We're revolutionizing this category. We've got a great design going on here. How were you managing these 13 months in terms of some of the ups and downs that happen? Like especially finding a manufacturer to do this, like bringing this all to life. How were you managing the vision of this is going to disrupt the category? We need to make it happen, but oh my gosh, there are hurdles along the way. How'd you keep your head on straight and keep going towards that vision?
Well, yes, it was definitely tough, because it was hard like the hardest thing about starting the business, apart from figuring it out, is the emotional piece, right? Because you're doing it on your own, and I was working from home. Back then, no one else was working from home. Now they are, so they kind of get it. But I definitely had, I'm not much of a crier, but God, did I cry a lot during those 13 months. I'm normally like quite like head on, whatever, let's move on. But it's tough, it's lonely, and it's just you and your vision and your mood board and your paper mock-ups and your prototypes. Especially me, I had the packaging all sorted before I had my product. And I think it was mainly surrounding myself with positive people. So I have my little cheerleader gang that I lean on for emotional support. So I call them and be like, okay, having a bad day, just give me a little pep talk. So, not being scared to really tell your friends, okay, I'm feeling down, big me up today, please, I need it. And also remembering the bigger picture. So for me, the fuel, I still am very, very passionate about making chewing gum cool and eco again, and taking it back to its plant-based roots and style, and to get there, I needed to experience these bumps. They were just part of, imagine you were going on holiday and there was like turbulence on the plane. You still want to go on holiday. So you're just going to, really hold, if you're not alone, if you're traveling with a friend, you just grab their friend's hand really tight and you say, hold on to me while we go through this turbulence together. But, at the end of the day, we're going to be in like, I don't know, Tulum on a beach and it'll be fine. So that's kind of like how I would compare it. That would be probably the best analogy. But it was definitely, now I know when people say like, oh, it's really tough starting a business, they're not actually referring to like the technicalities. That you can delegate. But really like the internal emotional bit of like getting yourself to say, okay, it's fine. You can do this. You've got this. You're getting there. You're on your holiday towards your holiday destination analogy. You're fine. That takes a while. And yes, I was just I just had to keep reminding myself, it's okay, this is just part of the journey, you'll get there. And even when you do get there, it never ends. There are always bumps on the road. So lean on your friends, remind yourself of the end goal, and break it up so it doesn't get overwhelming would be sort of my 3 key tips on that.
I love that. That's such a great analogy for people to think of. It's like there's going to be turbulence. It's going to be bumpy. Even when you're on holiday, when you land, you might lose your baggage. That's all right.
Yeah.
You still gonna have a great time. You got to just like get past it. There's going to be bumps and keep going for that like vision that you're chasing. And especially when you have this vision around, really shifting something to that needs to be shifted in a number of different ways. It makes it, it can make it easier for sure and help pull you back up when you hit the ground like everyone does on the journey.
Exactly. Yeah. No, definitely.
Anything that you know now that you wish you had figured out earlier on the journey?
Quite a lot. I'm trying to think which one would probably be the biggest one. I would say delegate. I wish I had delegated some things earlier on. I was like, this is my baby. I'm a bit of a control freak. And I'm like, I want to do everything. Initially, I even wanted to do the design myself. And then I downloaded Adobe. I'm like, I'm not going to spend months trying to figure this out. I might as well outsource. But I think even like I still want to do like, for example, I'm like, I want to do everything myself, like the sales myself, the website myself, the blah, blah, blah. And then I'll learn and then I'll delegate. And actually, I'd probably say earlier on, it's okay. You can delegate things. So for example, with sales, initially, I would do everything direct when we started selling. And it's actually fine to appoint a sales agency or a distributor. It's fine to do that. You don't have to wait until you figured it out and then delegate it to someone else. You can delegate the right people earlier, I would say. So that's what I would probably do differently, is not hold on to everything for dear life until I realize that I can't do it all myself.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Delegating can make things a lot easier, but I get it. It is your baby. You want to direct it in a certain way, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. And then when I found out, like, for example, my designer, she's amazing. I'm like, okay, this is what it's like to work with good people. They make your life easier.
Yeah. So
they do a great job. They make your life easier. And it's amazing. So if I find like the equivalent of that in another function, let's say, it's not a headache. Like that's the point of like delegating to the right people that get it. So so I think if I had known a bit more, I might have like delegated some PR activities to like a PR professional that had an extensive network of journalists, like way more, because that's been their job for X amount of years. And they could have done some more press coverage for me, which was definitely going to be better than what I had sourced for myself. So I'd say, I would have delegated a bit more and then really said, okay, this is what I can do and this is what needs to be delegated.
Got it. You can stay in that CEO role. That visionary. Yeah. Okay. So where can people find you right now?
So our site, our global e-store, ohmygum.com. We deliver everywhere globally. So wherever you are. And if Royal Mail ships there, you'll get your Oh My Gum package. We have our mint and cinnamon boxes. They come in either the squad box, which is box of 4, or the perfect 10, which is 10. And then on Instagram is where you can see everything that we get up to on o.my.gum on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, everyone should definitely go check them out and get this, because seriously, you do not need to be eating plastic. That's quite disturbing when you think about it. And it's fantastic for like the planet, for yourself. And it just feels good. I feel good having this next to me on my desk versus I think of the gum, it's in like a plastic tube and it's so
Yeah.
utilitarian, or like this plastic piece and you just crunch them out. It's like not a good user experience. I feel wonderful when I have this.
It's amazing. You made my day. Thank you. I'm so happy to hear this.
Well, thank you for introducing this to the market so people can get a healthier product and a product that allows them to have a great experience through it all. I'm so excited to watch you guys grow and to see you continue on your journey and shake up the gum market. So, Malak, thank you so much for sharing your journey today and look forward to watching you grow.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I look forward to having you all watch the gum category become fun and cool and stylish again, and something that you would be proud to offer someone.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness for that. That's it for this week, food friend. Thanks for tuning in. If the show helped you in any way, please go ahead and leave a rating or review of the show below. I also want to thank our sponsor one more time, the Food Brands That Sell program, the program to transform how you navigate the CPG industry and ultimately sets you up for success within it. Go ahead and get yourself on the waitlist using the link below, or you can put yourself on the waitlist at foodbrandsthatsellwaitlist.com. Catch you next time, food friend.